Okay, so welcome and good evening and welcome to the State of the School. Dawn has informed me today that we've done this 4 times, so I appreciate you all coming back. We have an audience on Zoom, so welcome to everyone on Zoom. And I'm here to really thank everyone. I just want to thank the team, Dawn and the communications team that's sitting in the front row for putting this together. And I want to thank everyone here that has contributed so much to this being a tremendous year at the Jacobs School. All the staff, the faculty, the students, everyone in this room, everyone in this building, and everyone in all the other campuses. So thank you. We very much appreciate it. I want to leave you with 2 very clear messages. If you remember nothing else about this presentation, number 1, the state of the Jacobs School and biomedical sciences is strong, and we are continuing to grow. The second is that we are contributing to the health of Western New York and the economic development of Western New York. And that means we are recruiting and growing research and startups and tuition and everything you're going to hear about today. But we're knitting all of that together to make sure that our community is healthy so we can recruit businesses and continue to thrive. So 2 things, strong and economic development. So the first is we're going to talk a little bit about our roots. So the medical school is the founding school of UB. 1846. The medical school was founded, and UB grew up around it. The University of Buffalo and the medical school have strong roots. We have a trunk, and we have great limbs here. And we've been resilient here. And we are ready for anything, any of the headwinds that have come to us. And we've had some this year. We've had funding on and off again. We've had changes in how our students are recruited. We've had headwinds in the international field, but we've remained resilient and we've remained true to our mission. And we will continue to remain true to our core mission for another 180 years. So that's one of the things I really want to make sure that we're emphasizing here today. We are strong, we are prepared, and we are resilient. And the other thing I just want to talk about is how much we have really embraced all of the parts of our medical school and how we are grounded. And as I mentioned, in terms of economic development, our staff, our faculty, our students. And so we've now prepared a video that will highlight many of those accolades. I want to thank Alex Edelblut, who put this together, and the rest of the team. And you will see here many, many, many of our faculty, our staff, and students who have been celebrated. So can we have a round of applause for all of the... So our presentation here is grounded in our strategic roadmap. As I mentioned, the 4 areas are pillars and how we then knit them together to have an impact. We're going to talk about education, research, clinical care, but all grounded in community engagement, which is so important to our mission, our values, and frankly, our future. So the very first thing I want to talk about is the phone call I got Thursday at 9 o'clock when Linda comes in and says, the governor's office is on the phone and you need to call them back by 10 o'clock. So we partnered with ECMC. Dr. Katroshi called us about a year ago and asked us to work with him on the New York Transformation Fund. We built a proposal together that ECMC submitted, and that means that we put in there building out the primary care for the East Side, more residency slots, jobs at UB, a health complex, and the EMR. Dr. Katroshi has not yet, I just checked with Dr. Cloud 5 minutes ago. Thank you, Sam, for being here. He has not yet received the award letter, but we did get the phone call. They asked us for a press release. It's on the governor's website. So we're very, very excited about that. So thank you to ECMC for inviting us to participate in this really groundbreaking proposal, and we are excited to work with you. It is an era of collaboration and innovation. We have simulation. We have the proposal I just talked about that will be funded. We have an EMR and many other things that I'm going to talk about here today. But that's all grounded in laying the foundation for transforming the health of Western New York. I mentioned growth. Our faculty are growing. In the last 3 years, we have hired 199 new faculty. The clinical faculty are 3 times the tenure-track faculty. And the clinical faculty and tenure-track faculty are making a tremendous impact. We now have almost 1,000 faculty at the Jacobs School. So thank you to everyone who brought new names to us, went to so many dinners, and brought new faculty on board. Thank you to all the chairs and many other leaders who have set the faculty up for success. We're thrilled to have them. We have new leadership at the Jacobs School. We have 2 new chairs. I see Dr. Surtees in the back and Dr. Beth Smith, our new chair of psychiatry. Dr. Surtees is new chair of biochemistry. We brought on Heather Gardner, who grew up in Buffalo and is UB grad and now leads the UB Health Equity Research Institute. And we brought on Dr. Asim Khan. Dr. Khan is a card-carrying computer scientist. He's also our new Chief Data Health Information Officer, our new HIPAA officer, and he is going to be the point person on the implementation of the community-wide EMR for UB, which is now Epic. And then we also have Sanjay Sethi, who has taken on the role with Dr. Murphy's retirement, and we're so appreciative of Sanjay stepping in to lead the Clinical Translational Science Institute. We've also said some farewells. Jim Reynolds had been chair of ophthalmology since 1997. And he told me he wanted to spend a lot more time with his grandchildren. I see John somewhere in the back, and John likewise agreed to stay on 2 more years when I arrived, and he has graciously agreed to stay on a couple more months until Dr. Halterman and I get the next pathology chair. Thank you, John, for all of your service. Dr. Shera stepped out of his role also for a very long time as the chair of otolaryngology, and we're personally grateful to Dr. Steve Schweitzberg, who stepped into that role and has hit the ground running. Dr. David Dietz moved on from being chair to a dean of the School of Pharmacy at the University of Kansas. And then you'll hear a little bit more about Dr. Murphy, who has officially retired, but promises he'll come back, and you will see him in the community in the next couple of months, probably after the turn of the year. I wanted to say a little bit more about the clinical faculty. So the clinical faculty, as I mentioned earlier, are part of UB. They're part of our school. And they, along with our basic science faculty, teach our medical students, they teach our residents, and they are part of the fabric of our community. They also partner with all of our health systems who help us teach our medical students every day. Without our health systems participating in teaching our medical students and our 835 residents, we would not be able to do what we do with our medical students or our residents. And we want more medical students to come to Buffalo and stay in Buffalo and do their residency here. And we really, really want them to come and stay and work here. And you'll hear a little bit more about those plans. We have over 650 physicians that are part of UBMD who practice here. And as a reminder, when you go into an emergency room, you will be cared for by an emergency room physician who's part of UBMD. If you go into many of the clinics around the community, you'll be cared for by one of our amazing orthopedic surgeons, our vascular surgeons, our primary care doctors, our family medicines, our internal medicine docs, and on and on and on, and maybe neurology as well. So I probably missed a department, but we're incredibly grateful to all of those physicians and all of the providers who are teaching our students. So I mentioned I'm a neurologist, so you'll have to give me a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit about pathways. And we want to talk about the pathway where students will see themselves as a future researcher, provider, and such. So I see Dr. Surtees in the back. She and many of her colleagues have been going to the schools in our Buffalo community. Then we have students who join as bachelors. We'll talk more about the strength of our undergraduate program, our master's, our graduate program, our MD program, and then all the people that end up as residents or postdocs or fellows here at UB, and we want them to stay on as faculty. So think about the pathway and the journey that it takes to get to that end and how everyone is interacting with them and really talking about the value of UB. So we'll start initially with just the community outreach. That means the STEM education where a student who's in the Buffalo schools, maybe it's kindergarten, grade school, high school, sees themselves a potential future researcher. They may not see that unless someone comes out and interacts with them. And many of our medical students are now coming from our community and our residency program. So thank you to everyone who's doing that. It's incredibly important. Community outreach is one of our core 4 pillars and tremendously important to what we do to really change the healthcare of our community. So our undergrad. I just want everyone to appreciate these numbers. We have more undergrad degrees awarded at UB from the Jacobs School of Medicine than we do MD degrees. We're the 6th largest school at UB in undergrads. We have over 1,310 undergrad students this year, the highest ever. So when they walk across the stage and they shake my hand, they shake John Pinto's hand, this is an amazing accomplishment. We went to the Interested Students Day or open house at 11 o'clock on Saturday on North Campus. And there we were able to share with the students and their parents that some of our degrees come out with a bachelor's and they can make $80,000 to $90,000 with a bachelor's. So our students don't necessarily go on to a master's, but they may also go on to industry. They may go work for one of the hospital partners. They may do a bachelor's in laboratory medicine, nuclear medicine, biochemistry, informatics, etc. So this is incredibly important. And again, it's about changing the economics of our region because those students then often stay here and have jobs and raise their families here. Graduate education. So we have 284 masters and PhDs. It's our largest graduate students cohort in the past decade, a 60% increase over the last 5 years. And thanks to some novel admissions that John did with Chris Connor that had been piloted in the School of Engineering, we are up year over year in our master's students this year, which is a tremendous accomplishment. So I want to thank those, all the people that worked on that. Roswell. We give degrees out from Roswell, and we work very closely with Roswell, where our students are in those laboratories. We also send medical students to Roswell. So we're incredibly appreciative of the Roswell partnership because students get exposure to laboratories where they want to find the next great cure for cancer. And that is something that really helps drive students that come to UB. And then medical education. Fred Archer and his team have been very busy. Thank you to Fred, who is our admissions dean. We've had a 7.5 increase in applicants year over year. And that's juxtaposed with about a 3% increase nationally of people who are interested in going to medical school. So the word is out that the Jacobs School is a place to come and train to be a physician. It also is a class size that's about 187. And you're going to hear a little bit about Dr. Milling's plan for expanding the pathway to train some medical students in 3 years. So where do our students come from? I thought this would be interesting information for you and the rest of the people that are on the Zoom. So many of our students come from New York, but they don't all come from Western New York. They come from the city. They come from the Finger Lakes and the upper regions. And about 10% of them come from out of state. So all the brand recognition that we've been doing, all the communications that the team in front and everyone else has been doing has really led to more people wanting to come to the Jacobs School and a very diverse population that's really centered on New York, but is getting students from out of the state. Part of what's driving that interest in the Jacobs School is our new curriculum. And I want to thank Dr. Milling and the rest of the curriculum team. This work started when Dr. Kane was the dean, and his new curriculum that really integrates the community early on. And those students go out and have to do 18 hours in their first year with a nonprofit. An incredible opportunity for students to work firsthand in a shelter, a mission, a food bank. They're gaining firsthand experience. It also gets them out early into the clinic. So you can see that we have students going into the hospitals and experiencing what it's like to be a radiologist. I know all of our departments have been very, very engaged in making sure that our students get exposure. All of our students also now have to do a research project. So Dr. Halterman and the team have collaborated with Dr. Milling's group and making sure that every student has a research project. So they'll all have exposure to nonprofits by the end of their first year, and everyone will graduate with a research project. LCME. This is something that happens to every medical school. Trust me. The deans love it. They talk about it all the time. Every medical school has a visit by LCME. It is just part of it. It's just like when JACO or the one that DNV, is that right, Sam? That's what I think what it's called, comes across to our hospitals. We have begun that process under the leadership of Dr. Milling. He is the faculty lead for our LCME in partnership with Benny Joyner and Dr. Alan Lessie. Benny is our new chair of pediatrics. And they are the core team. We've already set up the committees. Thank you to everyone. I know there's several people in this room, Norma and everybody else who are on a committee. We also have already launched the student self-study. The students do their own self-study, and we do not really interfere with that. We provide them the tools, and they develop their own self-study that gets submitted to the LCME as part of our review. We develop our own self-study called the DCI, and that gets submitted. And then the third and final piece is the graduation questionnaire. And I think everybody knows what the graduation questionnaire is, but it's the survey that the students fill out. It opens on Valentine's Day, it closes on Memorial Day, and is the graduating students' presentation, their perception of how the course was all the way back to first year, all the way through to fourth year. It's a list of set questions, and those are the documents. So this happens every year. It's our turn. It's been 7 years. We're ready. We're on it. We're prepared. And it's going to be a lot of work, but David's got it well underhand, and the committees are already working on it. So we do have an initiative to train here and stay here. We would like many more of our medical students to train here and come and do residency here and then be faculty members at UB. We've been working hard on meeting the students, and I'll talk a little bit about some of our scholarship initiatives. Middle of March next year at the Powerhouse, all the students will join at noon, and all the students around the country will all open their letter at the same time on match day. And already we've had several specialties that have been very, very successful. Psychiatry is one of them, and family medicine is one. And so we are really focused on making sure that our students see Buffalo as an alternative to going out of state or going somewhere else. Of course, sometimes people want to go and train and then come back, and we'll take that too. But we really are focused on staying here, training here, and having a future in Western New York. We're going to talk about the pathways of research. And so, again, it's a little bit like a snake, right? And I think it's Wayne Gretzky that said, you miss all the goals you don't try. And so I want to walk you through the process of how we think about success in research and the numbers. So proposals. Proposals are where you submit it, you press the button, and you hope for the best. And you hope that eventually study sections will meet again soon. John told me that his was canceled. So, and nobody's answering emails at NIH, but we hope they'll be back. So the number of proposals is significant. And 9 of UB's large proposals, which are over $1 million, came from the Jacobs School. And 11 of 13 were originated from the health sciences schools. In 2025, we saw almost a 25% increase in proposals submitted, and 132 more proposals were submitted in 2025 compared. So it's a huge year over year. So everybody, thank you. Submitting is hard. It's hard to package them. I know we would like a lot more help, and we're working on that. But if you don't submit, there's not going to be an award, and then there's not going to be research expenditures. So to that point, I suspect Dr. Cizak is online, but she is at a PCORI meeting, and I won't give any of the details, but she texted me about an hour ago and said the 2 proposals for PCORI, they sent in $82 million of a letter intents about 6 weeks ago, and she's already heard that 2 of those proposals are moving forward. One of them is for a very sizable amount of money. So the team that she's put together will be assisting the PIs in packaging those proposals to PCORI. PCORI, as a reminder, is separate from the NIH. It's congressional money that's already been set aside. So it is another opportunity to fund our research. So congratulations to Jill, the team, and the PIs that have been asked to move forward. Awards. Submit and you get your award. I want to draw your attention to the pie chart because the Jacobs School represents 37% of the awards at UB, and health sciences is more than half. The Jacobs School increased award dollars by 22% year over year. There were 27 awards, over $11 million, and if the ones I just talked about next year, we'll be talking about even more money for awards. There were 52 new awards designated for clinical trials. So we very much would like to also focus in the next year on bringing clinical trials to UB and to the Jacobs School. And that will be part of the EPIC implementation because it will be much easier to be able to attract patients for clinical trials. This is the award distribution. It's a little bit of a complex slide, but as you can see, much of the money is coming from NIH. And our goal is to try to, as they say, diversify our portfolio, bring in more industry trials, more foundations such as PCORI, and bring in more partnerships such as foundations like the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation that is funded, Dr. Hunter and Dr. Smith. So this is exceptional. We have new awards exceeding $99 million, but we want to diversify that portfolio. And then research expenditures. So at UB, we talk a lot about research expenditures, and we've seen 5 years of growth, 42%. And you can see the increase in the number of the Jacobs School funding and the UB's funding. But we want to make sure that this continues. So that's why we have the focus on the awards and the proposals. If you have research, high impact, you want to disseminate it. This is just a sampling of the high impact journals that our faculty are publishing in. And you can see that we have New England Journal, we have JAMA, Lancet Neurology. These are incredibly important journals that many institutions never have an author in. Our faculty are out there telling the story about UB. They're bringing their work to the larger community that is having an impact worldwide. So thank you. I will just make a pledge for Dawn here and the team. If you get a letter from the New England Journal or Lancet or Cell or Nature, after you are done getting really excited, you want to let these people know here because they will work on embargoed information so that we can do a big splash with that journal. And that's another way that we are able to expand our reputation across the country and across the world, because this is how you disseminate all the science that we get. And it's critically important, not only for our reputation of UB in the medical school, but also for future funding. So I'm just making sure that Dawn has the information that she needs. R1 institutions that are featured in the AAU need training grants. That is a marker of a high-intensity research institution. And training grants are hard to put together and difficult to get. And I just want to give a shout out to the team here. Christine Shaner-Tui and Melissa McCartney just got this training grant. And I know there are many others in the pipeline that have been recently obtained. Melissa joined UB about 6 to 9 months ago. She also was at the Acceptance Student Day because Dr. Surtees has transitioned some of her work over to Melissa. So this grant will help train the next generation. And then that's just another thing about the pathway, right? We need to train our replacements, and this is one of the ways we do that. So we're also continuing to advance research and innovation. And I want to give a shout out to a couple of the innovators. So Ram and Zach have developed what we call can-do model, where they can actually look at drugs and do an algorithm to see which drugs may be appropriate to treat a disease. And then Tom Grant, we probably could have him give an entire seminar. Tom is the top user of Empire AI. Empire AI is the largest academic computing system in the country. And Tom is a member of our structural biology program. And Tom has become the top user of Empire AI. And moreover, he's already presented his work in the last 8 weeks to the chancellor and then a couple of weeks ago to the governor. So this work has the opportunity to really do drug development and find treatments for diseases that we have yet to find drugs for. I mentioned that Tim had stepped out of his role in retiring, and that Dr. Sethi has taken over the leadership of the CTSA. The Clinical Translational Science Institute was founded by UB with Dr. Murphy several years ago. 3 cycles of funding. Most recently, the 3rd cycle of funding came 7 years. So Sanjay has taken on this leadership. And then Dan Liu, who was recruited from the University of Cincinnati, has joined him as the Associate Program Director. Dan has a deep, deep history of clinical trials, particularly in neurology and in recruiting stroke patients. He is a stroke neurologist who understands genetics and the genetic influences on stroke. And so we're incredibly grateful to the 2 of them for taking on these roles. Dr. Murphy also founded the UB Center for Health Equity Research, and I mentioned Dr. Gardner. Dr. Gardner has already hit the ground running with the Igniting Hope program that was held in this building a couple of weeks ago. She's from Buffalo. She trained in our School of Public Health, and she is really inspired to come here. And I'll give you a little teaser. They are one of the guests on a project that's at the end here. So this is a little snippet, yes, a video that we showed a couple of weeks ago when we said thank you to Dr. Murphy.
Of the 44 years that Tim spent at UB, I had the fortune of being his mentee and then his collaborator for 34 of those. Tim taught me many lessons over the years, and I always appreciated that Tim let me develop in my own way. Tim, I thank you for our success, and I wish you the best.
When I think about a moment that really captured my attention and made an impression on me is when I first heard you speak about your experience with the African American Health Equity Task Force. You were sharing with others about your time and said, I put aside all that I knew and just listened for 2 years so that I could learn and understand before I really became active in the work. That was such an incredible acknowledgement of not just being a lifelong learner, but an intentional learner who understands that work has to be done before the work gets done.
The time I've spent working with Tim Murphy has been among the most enjoyable and productive of my life. And together with others, we have made significant strides toward making the world a better place. Thank you, Tim Murphy, for being Tim Murphy.
It is my pleasure to be with you today as we acknowledge the leadership, contributions, and guidance Dr. Tim Murphy has provided. It has been my pleasure to work with Dr. Murphy and colleagues to promote these health equity initiatives, and we pledge to continue our engagement with the community as you have directed us.
Congratulations, Dr. Tim Murphy, for your many years of service at the University of Buffalo and to this community. I met Tim many years ago as we began this journey on the African American Health Equity Task Force. He was so open to hearing new ideas and so open to hearing what other people's stories were as it relates to the great health disparities in this region. The UB Community Research Institute is a legacy that Dr. Tim Murphy is leaving to this community, and I am so grateful not only for his work, but for his friendship.
I really want to express how much I appreciate you and your leadership. You created a space where everyone felt valued and heard, and you earned a lot of respect by welcoming honest feedback. I think it's easy to wonder if you're making a difference, but there is no doubt about the impact you've had.
Right. So Tim has told me that he will be back. He has promised me that he will be back. He is going to enter into the community and continue this good work. He's inspired by what we're doing with the Buffalo Primary Care Initiative. So, but trust me, he's going to take a little bit of a break. I promised his family when we had this, and we're really incredibly grateful for all of his hard work. He set the Jacob School and UB on a different trajectory, and we will continue that trajectory of growth. So speaking about growth, our community is aging, and we are committed to making sure that we are bringing aging research and aging care to our community. And this is a little bit of what we've been working on. I think some of you recently were participants in the Sandwich Generation that got lots of nice press locally. But we also have done seed grants about aging proposals, and we've worked with the leaders of the New York Master Plan on Aging. So I would like very much for everyone here to think about your work in aging, whether that's how you care for aging individuals, patients who need something different, right? Just like kids are little people, older patients are not like people in middle age. How do we think about aging research in the brain and otherwise, bone, muscle, joints? So I want to just challenge everyone on how we can adopt this. We have an aging population here in Western New York, and we have an opportunity. I also want to congratulate the SUNY Neuroscience. Dr. Mark Hultman played a significant role in this proposal, and recently SUNY was awarded $10 million. There's a lot of work to do that Mark will be involved in, but it really focuses again on neuroscience. You can also put this in the aging bucket on how we use new technology, computer interface, and how UB and SUNY can be a national leader in this area. Neuroscience is a real growth area with a focus on brain disease, and so this is an incredible opportunity that we will be living into the next year and many years to come. So I want to talk about primary care. We have a primary care shortage in New York. We have a primary care shortage in our country. There are individuals who do not have access to primary care physician, and you can see that we have challenges with 133 federally designated underserved areas. We need to do more about making sure that our patients in our community have a quarterback. You can also see that the health outcomes are challenging. Access to care, health equity, issues about trust. Some of the work that we've been doing in the community, and I see Les Bassan in the back, his incredible work on making sure that particularly the East and West Sides has access and training in CPR has been groundbreaking, with over 25,000 people trained in the last 2 years. But we have more to do. The Buffalo community needs more doctors, and they need more primary care doctors. So we started this with the Primary Care Pipeline Initiative, that is the UB's Generalist Scholar Primary Care Program. And as you can see, that has been successful. The individuals graduate, focused on a multi-specialty group, and we've trained 180 students since 1997. Our goal is to build upon this success, but also focus on primary care in the areas in Buffalo that are in the most need. This is called the Buffalo Primary Care Initiative, and it's building on John Botkin and his friends' initial part about Western New York initiative. This is part of what we think, at least will be in the ECMC award letter. At least it was in the press release. We are planning to develop, we have a proposed pathway to train medical students in 3 years instead of 4, and then they will have a residency program and a guaranteed position with UB, and they will be committed to being in the East and West Side where we have the most vulnerable patients. So again, making sure that our community all have a quarterback. We know that when people have primary care doctors, they don't show up in the emergency room unless they really need to be in the emergency room. We know that when primary care is accessible, that we think we can probably bend the cost curve because patients don't get as many tests because they get preventive care like preventive mammograms and colonoscopies and vaccines. but they also get care when they need it, where they need it, with hopefully is not in the hospital. It might even be in their home. This is a big slide to unpack, and I just draw your attention to the bottom. So to do 4 slots, which is 4 students per year that finish in 3 years, we are fundraising for a scholarship. This is focused on the match. The match is available from the state until March 30th of 2026. So every dollar that is raised, they give another 50 cents. We have been out in the community focused on this for a couple of months, and it is part of the proposal that we put into the state. So Jeff is here. If someone is feeling really, really generous, he needs a total of $36 million to get the match, and then his job is done, and he can retire. So, but it is an ambitious goal, but it is also a goal that we at UB can say that we are really then changing the health of Western New York. We're going to bend the cost curve. We have a bent cost curve. That means it's less expensive. It's better for our businesses. It's better for our community. And so it's another way that the Jacobs School that we're giving back. We are also transforming the care way we deliver care. So I asked him what he thought about this, kind of when this idea came up, and he said, that would be a game changer if we could all get on Epic. I said, we'll work on it. So I've been pleased. I think everyone in this room knows that we are going on Epic, and ECMC and UB will go on Epic, right? I can say it? Okay. October 24th, 2026. Kaleida will be going on Epic around Memorial Day of 2026. We are deeply committed to a community-wide EMR, which means that when you go to a different provider, regardless of what clinic, what emergency room, what hospital, what imaging, you will be able to see it all. The patients will be able to make appointments from their phone. They'll have a single portal instead of the many different portals that I have on my phone now. And there's something called Care Everywhere. So when we have our snowbirds that go down to Florida, they will be able to access their records. And more importantly, if their physician is on Epic, they will be able to look up the records like that. So it again is about improving care that we deliver to patients. This is going to be so much better for our learners because right now our medical students have to go to multiple different EMRs and even on inpatient and outpatient and within UBMD. Also, it's better for our residents. So it'll really, as Tim said, be a game changer. And then lastly, and very importantly, it will bring research much closer to the patients. We'll be able to recruit for clinical trials. We'll be able to source for how many patients we have X and Y disease. And we have Asim here to help us make sure that we're doing all this quickly, and we are making sure that the patients know what research they can participate in. So again, it'll be a game changer, but it is truly with a partnership. And I would be remiss if I didn't say that this partnership, Epic, it is in collaboration with the University at Buffalo. We have received tremendous support from President Tripathi and Provost Weber for this initiative, in addition to the other opportunities we've discussed here today. So October 24th is our go live date. Be there. It will be incredible. Everyone will get trained, but it will be, as Tim said, a game changer. Rankings can be problematic because it's just the nature of the beast. Rankings continue to be things that get people excited when they see the rankings go up. And so it is exciting to note that we have improved in our rankings. So we're only one of 33 schools nationwide to be ranked in the top 50 in both of these areas. So U.S. News & World Report does primary care, and they do research, and we are advancing in all of the rankings. So all of the numbers that I've spoken about here today are reflective in advancing these rankings. And again, Jeff is waiting here. He's got all kinds of things that if anybody has any questions, but we have a significant amount of opportunity in philanthropy. We're getting more endowed chairs. We have medical students on scholarships, and with the changes in Grad Plus that Dr. Milling would be happy to share with anybody who wants to speak about it, we are really going out to raise more money for our students, not only for the Buffalo Primary Care Initiative, but also for students who want to go into other areas of medicine or who want to be a researcher. There are many, many, many opportunities. Our amount of fundraising has increased. I want to unpack these numbers here because last year overall fundraising increased 118% of the goal that we were given. But as you can see, the green is raised by the gift officers, of which the team here is down in front, and they've been incredible. But also the red is a contribution by our UB practices, those clinicians who are out seeing patients. Because when you go to a UBMD physician, you're also supporting the medical school. Because the medical school gets a small portion of the funds that are brought in through UBMD. In fact, overall, that's the second largest funder of the medical school, second only to tuition. So again, I started this presentation talking about our 4 pillars and how we're knitted together, but this is a great example about how our clinicians are helping spearhead the medical school. We have been out in the community. We've been in Juneteenth. We've been in multiple parades. We have career fairs. It is incredible how many people are out really carrying the Jacobs School flag. And I want to thank everyone. There are way too many events to talk about, but it does say that we are part of our community. When the medical school was moved down here, I think in Dr. Tripathi's article in the Buffalo News, he talked about the medical school moving downtown as one of his biggest accomplishments. Together with Dr. Kane, who's in the audience, it has really been so important to the community. It is almost every day that we have an event in our school, and almost every week that we have members of our school go out into the community, so thank you. We've had alumni awards, and we have several people here, including our own Margaret Porosky, who was recognized, and she was the interim dean here and has been a tremendous leader. It was just about 3 weeks ago she was in this building giving students AI tips. And Dr. David Milling, I saw in the back, and he was the Jacobs School Alumnus Winner of the Year this year. So congratulations, David. Dr. Lawley was here with his family just a couple of weeks ago. I met Tom at Wake, oh my gosh, 15 years ago. And only recently did Jeff and I discover that he was a Jacobs School grad. So he was here with his 3 children and got the award a couple of weeks ago. And so we were thrilled to see him. He is the one that created Emory Health and really transformed Emory into a major medical school and a health system. There are way too many people here to name, but many people had anniversaries this year. I will point out Dr. Brian Murray, who has always accepted any challenge that we've given to him, and he did an incredible job of being the interim chair of medicine before the recruitment of Dr. Getty. All right, so a couple of things. I think some people know that I really want to get the word out about what's going on in the Jacobs School. So we've developed a podcast, and we have, I think, a teaser. Is that the next slide? All right. We have 3 in the can, as they say. And, of course, Tim and Heather were the first one. And you'll see a little bit here about what you can expect. It will drop every 2 weeks on Wednesday at noon, I think. Is that right? And I'm going to let just a little bit of a listen. right. So if you watch closely, you saw all of our guests. Thank you to Mark and David and Nancy, of course, Heather and Tim. So we have a long list. If you have something you want to be featured on the podcast, they're only 20 minutes, 10 minutes really. And then the goal is to highlight not just research, but also our educational programs, our community engagement, to tell the story, because we want the story to get out so that everybody knows what's going on at the Jacobs School. And then lastly, this is one way we get out to go what's going on at the Jacobs School. And I walked into one of our donors' houses in Florida, and she was eagerly reading our magazines. And so people look at this, and this is the one that will hit, I think it's mailed on Halloween, and it's filled with wonderful pieces about our research, about many of the things that you've heard about here today, but this is a great opportunity. And then lastly, we have an opportunity here before we wrap up. I first want to thank everyone for all of your contributions. I know that we talked a little bit about the idea of the tree and that we're rooted, but it really is true. We're rooted here in Western New York. We're committed to our values. We want to make sure that we are doing everything for you. The team would very much like to know about the successes that you've had in the last year. Was there something that we didn't cover, something you want to highlight, something you want for the podcast? But we also want to know what we can do to help you. Because in my office, I have an easy button. Literally, there's an easy button. And we are here to support you. We want the career of our faculty, the careers of our students. We want everyone to we want you all to stay here. We want to make sure that we have the best possible environment for everyone to thrive and to be successful so that we can meet our goals of transforming the health of Western New York, and that we just continue to be strong and rooted in our values. That's what you want? All right, so everyone's got a postcard. The other catch is if you fill it out, there's a drawing, and there's only one winner, but the one winner will win a Jacobs School of Medicine quarter zip. So that is the enforcement. And with that, I want to again thank Don Swirly, the team, for putting all of this together, Alex and the team for the movie. I want to thank everyone who's contributed to this presentation. And most importantly, I want to thank you, the people who make this all happen. Thank you.